Dog won't stop barking at a locked basement. Police arrive, and what they find leaves everyone frozen. Max's ears perked up before Officer Sarah Collins even heard the dispatch call. Something in the radio static triggered his instincts, a sixth sense that had saved both their lives twice before. Sarah noticed her canine partner's sudden alertness as the radio crackled to life. Unit 34, we've got a 1091 at 1426 Oakwood Drive. Neighbor reports strange noises coming from the residence. Homeowner Eleanor Winters, female, 58, no priors. Sarah glanced at Max, whose amber eyes were already fixed on her, body tense and ready. Copy that, dispatch. Unit 34 responding. ETA 5 minutes. The suburban streets of East Atlanta glowed golden in the late afternoon sun as Sarah's patrol car turned onto Oakwood Drive. Unlike the rougher neighborhoods they usually patrolled, this area boasted well-maintained lawns and American flags hanging from porch columns. The neighbor who had called it in, a middle-aged man in khakis and a polo shirt, was waiting at the curb. "Officer, thanks for coming," he said, keeping his voice low. "Eleanor's been my neighbor for nearly 20 years. Sweet lady, teaches 3rd grade at Riverside Elementary, but something's not right. There've been noises coming from her basement for 3 days straight. Not construction, more like..." He hesitated. "Look, I know how this sounds, but it's like someone's down there." Sarah nodded, keeping her expression neutral. "I'll check it out, sir." As they approached the modest 2-story colonial, Max's demeanor changed dramatically. His body stiffened, hackles rising along his spine. Sarah had worked with the Belgian Malinois for 4 years, and she recognized his signals. Max wasn't just alert, he was detecting something that alarmed him. Eleanor Winters answered on the 3rd knock. A petite woman with silver-streaked auburn hair pulled into a neat bun, reading glasses hanging from a chain around her neck. Her smile seemed practiced, but her knuckles were white where she gripped the doorframe. "Officer, this is unexpected. Is everything all right?" "Ma'am, I'm Officer Collins with Atlanta PD. We received a call about some unusual noises coming from your property. Mind if I come in to make sure everything's okay?" Eleanor's smile tightened. "Oh, that must be the plumbing. I've had some issues with the pipes in the basement. Nothing to worry about, truly." Sarah noted the woman's perfectly pressed cardigan and slacks, not the attire of someone dealing with plumbing problems. As Eleanor stepped aside to let them enter, Max started pulling hard on his leash, nose pointed toward the rear of the house. "Well-trained dog you have there," Eleanor commented, her voice too high, "though I'm afraid I'm not much of an animal person myself." The living room was immaculate, decorative plates on the wall, family photos arranged on the mantel, essays pinned to a corkboard with "My amazing teacher" written in children's handwriting, a teacher's home through and through. But Max wouldn't calm down. He kept pulling toward a door at the end of the hallway, letting out a low, warning growl Sarah had only heard during their most dangerous busts. "Is that the basement door?" Sarah asked, struggling to maintain control of the straining dog. Eleanor stepped between them and the hallway. "Yes, but as I said, it's just plumbing issues. My handyman's coming tomorrow. There's really no need." Max barked sharply. Once, twice, 3 times, his signal that he'd detected something critical. "Ma'am, my canine is specially trained to detect human distress," Sarah said, her hand instinctively moving closer to her weapon. "I need to check your basement." Eleanor's transformation was instant. The grandmotherly warmth vanished, replaced by cold calculation. "Do you have a warrant, Officer Collins?" Sarah maintained eye contact. "No, ma'am. But if you refuse a welfare check when my trained K9 is showing clear alert signals, I'll have probable cause to obtain one immediately." "Then I suggest you do exactly that." Eleanor folded her arms. "Until then, I believe our conversation is over." As Sarah reluctantly retreated to her vehicle, Max fought her every step of the way, barking frantically at the house. She'd never seen him this agitated without a clear threat present. In the car, she immediately radioed her sergeant. "Collins, are you sure about this?" Sergeant Wilkins's voice crackled over the radio after she explained the situation. Eleanor Winters has been Teacher of the Year 3 times, member of the church choir, volunteers with disadvantaged kids. You're talking about obtaining a warrant based on your dog's behavior. With all due respect, sir, Max has never been wrong. There's something off about that house. The basement door has 3 new deadbolts. I could smell bleach, a lot of it. And there were food trays hidden under other trash in her kitchen garbage. The line went silent for a moment. Then, hold your position. I'm sending Webster to run a background check on Winters. Don't approach the house again until we know more. 30 minutes later, Sarah's phone buzzed with a text from Officer Webster. Check your email. Now. The attachment contained 3 missing persons reports, all children between ages 7 and 9, all from Eleanor's school, all filed within the past month. The reports had been classified as low-priority runaways because each child had a history of unstable home life. One note caught Sarah's eye. All 3 children had been in Eleanor's classroom for a special after-school reading program. Sarah's blood ran cold as she looked up at the house. Through the front window, she could see Eleanor on the phone, gesturing frantically. Max hadn't stopped his low, continuous growl since they'd returned to the car. "I hear you, boy," Sarah whispered, reaching for her radio again, "and we're not leaving until we find out what's in that basement." Her phone rang. Sergeant Wilkins. "Collins, Judge just approved the warrant. Backup is on the way. Do not approach until they arrive." As darkness fell over Oakwood Drive, Sarah watched Eleanor moving through the house, closing blinds, checking locks. Max's growls deepened as he stared unblinking at the Colonial's darkened windows. In the distance, Sarah heard sirens approaching. Whatever nightmare lurked behind Eleanor Winters' perfect teacher facade, it wouldn't stay hidden much longer. Sarah placed her hand on Max's head, feeling his muscles trembling with tension. "We're going to find them," she promised her partner, who hadn't taken his eyes off the house. "Whatever she's hiding down there, we're going to bring it into the light." 3 police cruisers converged on Oakwood Drive, lights pulsing silently. Sarah had requested no sirens. Tactical surprise was essential. Sergeant Wilkins and 4 officers approached the house in formation, vests secured. "Collins, you and Max take point once we're in," Wilkins radioed. "If there are children in there, they'll respond better to the dog." Sarah checked Max's tactical vest. "Ready to work?" The Malinois' gaze never left the house, his urgency vibrating through the leash. Officer Taylor approached. Thermal imaging picked up multiple heat signatures in the basement. Small ones. "We're going in." The breach happened in seconds. The front door splintered under the battering ram. "Atlanta Police Department, search warrant." Wilkins's voice boomed. Eleanor appeared at the top of the stairs in a bathrobe, indignant. "How dare you? I'll have all your badges for this." Max lunged toward the hallway, nearly pulling Sarah off her feet. The basement door stood at the end, 3 heavy deadbolts locked tight. "We need the key," she called back. "Subject claims she lost it," Officer Davis replied. Officer Rodriguez moved forward with a door jamb spreader. With each crack of splintering wood, Max's barking intensified. When the door gave way, cold air rushed up from below. The stairwell was pitch black. "Collins, keep that dog controlled," Wilkins ordered. Sarah released tension on Max's lead just enough. "Show me." The basement stairs creaked under their weight. At first glance, it looked ordinary. Washer, dryer, storage boxes, until the lights reached the back section. The rear portion had been converted into a classroom. A chalkboard hung on the wall. 3 child-sized desks were arranged in a row. Alphabet posters decorated the concrete walls, alongside children's drawings. But it was the 3 small cots against the far wall that made Sarah's blood run cold. A portable toilet stood in the corner, partially concealed by a folding screen. Huddled together on the middle cot, 3 children stared back at them with terror. "Atlanta Police," Sarah said softly, lowering herself. "We're here to help you." Max whined beside her. The oldest child, a girl with tangled brown hair, stared at the dog. "Is he going to hurt us?" she whispered. "No, sweetheart. Max is a police dog. He's the one who knew you were down here." The girl's eyes filled with tears. We tried to be quiet. Miss Winters said if we made noise, bad people would take us away. You're safe now. Can you tell me your names? I'm Lily. That's Dion and Jason. The names matched the missing persons reports. Wilkins called for paramedics and child services. Lily, did Miss Winters hurt you? The girl shook her head. She said she was protecting us, that our parents didn't take care of us right. The youngest boy, Jason, reached out toward Max. Sarah gave the command, and Max approached with gentleness, letting the boy touch his head. Dog, the child whispered, the first hint of a smile crossing his face. Sarah noticed the careful organization of the space, the schedule posted on the wall, the relatively clean conditions. This wasn't impulsive, it was planned. Upstairs, Eleanor sat handcuffed on her sofa, tears streaming but defiant. They were being neglected, she said. Lily came to school in the same clothes for days. Dion's lunch account was empty for weeks. Jason had bruises. I reported it repeatedly and nothing happened. So you kidnapped them? Sarah's voice was ice. I saved them, Eleanor countered. The system failed them, just like it failed my... She stopped abruptly. You're what, Ms. Winters? Eleanor's eyes hardened. You wouldn't understand. Those children needed protection. As officers led Eleanor away, neighbors gathered behind the police tape, shocked to see their beloved teacher arrested. Sarah watched the ambulance where paramedics examined the children. Each child clutched a stuffed animal, small comfort after their ordeal. Collins, Sergeant Wilkins approached. We found something. In Eleanor's office, he pointed to files containing school records, notes on the children's home situations, copies of reports Eleanor had filed with Child Protective Services, pages of documentation of suspected neglect, most resulting in no action from authorities. There's more, Wilkins said, showing a photo of a younger Eleanor with a small boy. Death certificate for Michael Winters, age 8, her son. Died in foster care after being removed from her custody due to allegations later determined to be unfounded. Sarah stared at the photograph. She lost her child to the system, and now she thinks she's saving these kids from the same fate. Outside, Eleanor was placed in a police car, her eyes locked with Sarah's, not with hatred but with a strange understanding, as if passing a burden. Later, as Sarah completed her report, Max lay at her feet. On her desk, 3 new files were open, the children's cases. She picked up Lily's file, excessive absences, notes about hunger, multiple incidents documented by Eleanor. CPS reports showed minimal follow-up, cases closed due to insufficient evidence. A chill ran through her as she realized Eleanor might have been right about one thing. The system had failed these children. Her phone lit up with a text from the hospital. The youngest boy keeps asking for the dog. Any chance you can bring him by tomorrow? Sarah looked at Max, who raised his head, always attuned to her. Looks like we're not done with this case yet, she told him softly. Not by a long shot. Sarah and Max entered the children's ward. The nurse looked up with surprise at the police dog's tactical vest. I'm Officer Collins. Jason Reynolds was asking for us, Sarah explained, fatigue visible in her face. The nurse nodded. He's barely spoken since arriving. Dr. Peters thought the dog might help him open up. Inside the room, Jason sat on the hospital bed, small in his oversized gown, staring at cartoons on the TV. Jason, someone's here to see you. The boy turned slowly, eyes widening at the sight of Max, his first real emotion since rescue. Can I? He whispered, voice barely audible. Sarah commanded Max forward. The Malinois approached the bed and rested his head on the mattress. Jason reached out to touch the dog's fur. He found you, Sarah said softly. Max knew you were in that basement. He wouldn't stop barking until we listened. Tears welled in Jason's eyes. Ms. Winters said nobody would look for us, that nobody cared. That's not true. We never stopped looking. A comforting lie. The cases had been low priority until Max's behavior triggered her suspicions. Is she going to jail? Jason asked, fingers buried in Max's fur. Yes, she did a bad thing, taking you away from your family. Jason's face clouded. She gave us food every day and books, and nobody hurt us. Ice formed in Sarah's stomach. Before she could respond, Dr. Peters appeared in the doorway, gesturing her outside. In the hallway, the doctor spoke quietly. Jason's case is concerning. X-rays show old fractures and cigarette burns on his back, classic indicators of prolonged abuse. Sarah felt sick. His father, mother's boyfriend. The mother is blaming Eleanor Winters for the injuries and pushing to regain custody immediately. That's impossible. The medical evidence shows the injuries predate the kidnapping. The caseworker seems eager to reunite them quickly and close the file. Sarah glanced back at Jason, who was gently stroking Max's ears, whispering something only the dog could hear. "Not on my watch," she said firmly. At the precinct, Sergeant Wilkins leaned back in his chair, expression unreadable. "You can't interfere with CPS, Collins. It's not our jurisdiction. If Jason's mother is making false accusations, that directly impacts our investigation. Eleanor Winters kidnapped 3 children. Whatever her intentions, that's multiple felonies. What happens when we send Jason back to the same situation Eleanor rescued him from?" Max pressed against her leg, sensing her distress. His warm weight was grounding. "Take the afternoon off," Wilkins said, tone softening. "Clear your head." Instead, Sarah drove to the county jail. Max remained in the car as she was escorted inside. Eleanor looked small in her orange jumpsuit. "Come to gloat?" she asked when Sarah sat down. "Jason has cigarette burns and healed fractures. His mother is blaming you." Eleanor laughed bitterly. "Of course. They'll believe her because she's the mother, just like they believed my ex-husband." "Your son," Sarah said quietly. "What happened?" Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "Michael was 7 when my ex wanted custody. He claimed I was abusive. They took Michael immediately. 6 months later, he was dead. His foster father beat him so severely his liver ruptured." "I'm sorry," Sarah said, meaning it. "Sorry doesn't bring back my son. The system failed Michael, just like it's failing Jason, Lily, and Dion. That doesn't justify kidnapping, doesn't it? I filed 13 reports about Jason's injuries. I documented everything, and nothing happened." Eleanor's voice rose. "What was I supposed to do? Watch him come to school with fresh burns while paperwork gathered dust?" Sarah had no answer, her certainty wavering. "You have a good dog," Eleanor added unexpectedly. "He knew something was wrong when everyone else ignored the signs." That evening, Sarah parked outside Jason's mother's apartment complex. The building was run down, graffiti covering the walls. Shouting erupted from Jason's address. A crash followed, the sound of glass breaking. "Stay," she ordered Max before approaching the building. A man stumbled out of the apartment, reeking of alcohol. "You better have my money when I get back," he shouted. He nearly collided with Sarah on the stairs. "Problem, sir?" she asked, hand near her weapon. The man staggered away without answering. Through the open door, Sarah saw Jason's mother sweeping broken glass, a bruise on her cheekbone. "Atlanta PD. Mind if I come in?" The woman looked up, panic in her eyes. "I didn't call police. I'm Officer Collins. I was involved in recovering your son, Jason." The woman's voice turned honeyed. "Oh, I've been trying to get my baby back. These accusations are just terrible." Sarah stepped inside, noting the ashtrays and liquor bottles. "How'd you get that bruise?" "Bumped into a cabinet." She laughed nervously. "The medical evidence shows Jason was being abused before Ms. Winters took him." The woman's facade cracked. "You can't prove who did what. You filed a false report accusing Ms. Winters. That's a crime." Fear washed over her face. "My boyfriend would kill me if Jason talks." "I can help you both," Sarah said quietly, "but not if you keep lying." Later, driving away, Sarah felt the weight of her promise. The woman had admitted the abuse. Sarah had connected her with resources for victims. But one truth remained. Without Eleanor's intervention, however illegal, Jason might still be suffering. Every system designed to protect him had failed. "The world's more complicated than they teach at the academy, isn't it, boy?" she said to Max. Her phone buzzed with a text from Wilkins. "DA wants to meet tomorrow about Winter's case, pushing for maximum charges. 0800. Tomorrow she would have to decide. Loyalty to the law as written, or to the justice it was meant to serve. The district attorney's office bustled as Sarah and Max entered. Deputy DA Richard Townsend greeted them from his desk. "Is the dog necessary?" he asked, eyeing Max. "He's my partner," Sarah replied simply. Townsend got to business. "We're pushing for maximum charges against Winters: kidnapping, false imprisonment, child endangerment." "There are complications," Sarah interrupted. "Jason was being abused at home before Winters took him." "Irrelevant. Winters had no legal right to take those children. She filed multiple reports with CPS. They were ignored." "Again, irrelevant." Townsend leaned forward. "I understand your sympathy, but she held children captive in a basement. The system wasn't working, that's the point. Your job is to present facts, not evaluate the system. Can you testify objectively?" Max shifted at Sarah's feet, sensing her tension. "I can state the facts," Sarah said carefully. "But those facts include Jason being returned to an abusive home despite evidence. This office is prosecuting Winters, not the foster system. I need witnesses who won't muddy the waters. You want me to testify selectively? Your sergeant mentioned you might be emotionally involved. Perhaps we should use Officer Davis instead." The implied threat hung in the air. "That won't be necessary," Sarah said. "I'll testify to all relevant facts." "Excellent." Townsend closed the file. "Trials next month." Outside, Sarah took a deep breath. That wasn't justice, Max. That was politics. Her phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Peters. "Jason asking for you. Mother made scene at hospital. Need help." 20 minutes later, Sarah stood with Dr. Peters and a CPS caseworker, Alicia Ramirez. "His mother showed up intoxicated, demanding to take him home," Peters explained. "Security escorted her out." "We're trying for emergency foster care," Ramirez added, "but the system is overloaded. The boyfriend has disappeared, so technically there's no immediate danger." No immediate danger. Sarah couldn't hide her disbelief. "The boy has cigarette burns." Ramirez looked exhausted. "Without the boyfriend present and without Jason's testimony, we can't prove who caused the injuries. His mother claims Eleanor Winters abused him. That's impossible." "The medical report is being contested," Ramirez interrupted. Jason sat on his hospital bed, arms around his knees. He looked up as Sarah and Max entered, his face brightening. "Hey, buddy," Sarah said softly. "Heard you had a rough morning." Jason nodded, reaching for Max. The boy buried his fingers in the dog's fur. "My mom came," he said quietly. "She was mad that I told about Gary. She said I was lying." "Were you lying, Jason?" He shook his head. "But it doesn't matter. They'll send me back and Gary will come back and—" His voice trailed off. Max pushed his head against Jason's arm. "He understands," Jason whispered. "Would you tell what happened? To help make sure you don't go back there." Fear flashed across his face. "Mom will be mad. I know it's scary, but we can't help without the truth." Jason was silent for a moment. Finally, he nodded. "Can Max stay with me?" "Absolutely." An hour later, with a child advocate present, Jason's statement had been recorded. Through it all, Max remained pressed against the boy's side. After Jason fell asleep, Sarah confronted Ramirez. "Will this make a difference? Or will he still end up with his mother?" Ramirez rubbed her temples. "His testimony helps, but the mother will claim he was coached, without evidence against the boyfriend. So we get some," Sarah said firmly. Back at the precinct, Sergeant Wilkins listened to Sarah's proposal with skepticism. "Collins, this isn't our case anymore. It's in CPS hands now. A crime was committed against a child in our jurisdiction," Sarah countered. "We've got a double homicide, an armed robbery spree, and staffing issues. I can't allocate resources for this." "So Jason's case just falls through the cracks?" "I'm sympathetic, Collins, but we have priorities." "This is a priority," Sarah insisted. "A child's safety is CPS's job," Wilkins interrupted firmly. "Not ours." At her desk, Sarah pulled out Mitchell's file. His record showed minor offenses, nothing that screamed child abuser. Officer Diaz stopped by her desk. "Heard you're interested in Mitchell. I just got a call about a drunk at Flanagan's bar. Guess who it was?" "Mitchell?" Yep, got his current address. Diaz slid a note across her desk. After her shift, Sarah sat in her car outside the rundown motel where Mitchell was staying. Max watched her from the passenger seat. This wasn't official police business, but a child's safety hung in the balance. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ramirez. Court hearing tomorrow to determine if Jason returns to mother. Sarah's decision crystallized. Let's go, Max. Mitchell opened the door of room 114, beer in hand. He was wiry with bloodshot eyes. Mr. Mitchell, Officer Collins, Atlanta PD, I'd like to ask about Jason Reynolds. Mitchell's expression darkened. Don't know any Jason. Your girlfriend's son, the boy who was taken by his teacher. Lisa's kid, not my business. He tried to close the door, but Sarah blocked it. Actually, it is when the boy has cigarette burns matching your brand. Fear flickered across Mitchell's face. You got a warrant? Just questions right now. Lisa already explained. That crazy teacher did that stuff. Medical evidence says otherwise. Jason gave a statement today, Gary. Mitchell's face contorted. That little liar. I barely touched the kid. Lisa's the one who... He stopped abruptly. The one who what? Nothing. We're done here. He closed the door. Sarah already had what she needed. His inadvertent admission and the hint that Jason's mother might be involved too. As she walked back to her car, her phone rang. Eleanor Winter's lawyer. Officer Collins, my client would like to speak with you about evidence she collected on Jason's abuse. Sarah looked at Max, who sat watching her with patient eyes. Tell her I'll be there in 30 minutes. The lines between right and wrong were blurring, but one thing remained clear. A child needed protection, and Sarah was running out of options. The detention center's visiting room was stark under fluorescent lights. Eleanor Winters sat across from Sarah, orange jumpsuit a contrast to her former teacher attire. Max lay at Sarah's feet. Thank you for coming, Eleanor said. My lawyer said you might not. You mentioned evidence about Jason's abuse? Eleanor leaned forward. In my house, bedroom closet, there's a black lockbox, combination 62415. My son's birthday. Inside are USBs and notebooks documenting everything. Everything being? Every injury on Jason over 8 months. Photos, dates, explanations, voice recordings, copies of every report I filed, all ignored. Why keep this from police until now? My lawyer advised against it. Proof of premeditation. A bitter smile. But I realized you might care more about Jason than protocol. Ms. Winters, I can't just enter your home and take things. My sister has a key. Eleanor slid a paper across the table. She'll meet you in an hour. Why not pursue legal channels? I tried. 3 times I went to your precinct. I was told it was a CPS matter. The last officer said, Lady, we've got real crimes to solve. Sarah felt a flush of shame. That was wrong. But kidnapping those children, I prefer rescue, Eleanor interrupted. When Jason came to school with cigarette burns for the 3rd time, I couldn't wait longer. The guard called time. Eleanor hesitated. One more thing. Check the signature on the CPS case closure forms. Jason's case wasn't closed because allegations were unfounded, but because someone decided not to investigate. 30 minutes later, Sarah met Karen Winters, Eleanor's sister, at the house. Eleanor said, You're the only one actually listening, Karen said. Inside, Karen led them to the bedroom. She keeps it in there. I'll be in the living room. I don't want to see it again. Sarah found the lockbox behind a row of shoes. This wasn't proper procedure. No warrant, no chain of custody. But a child's safety hung in the balance. 62415. The lock clicked open. Inside were USB drives, notebooks, and photos, meticulously documented injuries on Jason. Each photo had dates and descriptions in precise teacher's handwriting. The notebooks contained detailed entries, observations, Jason's explanations, Eleanor's attempts to get help, page after page of institutional failure. Sarah played an audio file. Jason, can you tell me how you got that mark on your arm? Eleanor's gentle voice. A child's hesitant voice. I fell. You fell onto something shaped like a cigarette? Silence. Jason, no one is going to be angry with you for telling the truth. Gary gets real mad when Mom drinks, says I'm too loud. Sarah stopped the recording, hands shaking. Max pressed against her leg. At the bottom was a folder labeled Case Closures, containing 3 forms for Jason, all signed by Assistant Director Meredith Langley. Sarah recognized the name. Langley had been featured recently for implementing an efficiency protocol that had reduced CPS's backlog. The article had quoted Sergeant Wilkins praising the interagency cooperation. Back in her car, Sarah called Ramirez. "It's Collins. I need to ask about Meredith Langley." "Where did you hear that name?" "She signed off on multiple closures of Jason Reynolds' case." "I'm not supposed to discuss internal—" "Ramirez, please. This is about a child going before a judge tomorrow." A pause. "Langley's protocols are why I have 67 cases instead of 40. Cases aren't being investigated, they're being closed to improve metrics. Is that legal? If preliminary assessment doesn't show imminent danger, a case can be closed without full investigation. And who defines imminent danger? Under Langley, the threshold has become nearly impossible to meet." At a coffee shop, Sarah showed Eleanor's evidence to Ramirez. The caseworker's expression grew grim. "This is what I suspected, but could never prove," Ramirez said. "Cases being closed to boost statistics. Can we use this to help Jason? Not directly, chain of custody issues, but I can request a formal review, citing procedural violations. That creates a 72-hour hold on custody decisions, buying us time. Yes, and I can reference this evidence without citing its source." Later that night, Sarah reviewed Eleanor's notebooks. The documentation painted a damning picture, not just of Jason's abusers, but of a system that had abandoned him. Her phone rang. Sergeant Wilkins. "Collins, got a call from the DA's office. Townsend says you visited Winters without authorization." It was a follow-up interview. "Not according to Townsend. He says Winters' lawyer called about evidence. Sir, whatever you're doing, stop now. This case is simple. Teacher kidnapped kids, teacher goes to jail. Don't make it complicated." "With respect, sir, it is complicated." A heavy sigh. "Collins, I'm trying to protect your career. There are connections between Langley and people above my pay grade. Politics. Stay away from it." The call ended. Wilkins knew about Langley's manipulation and was warning her off. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ramirez. "Review filed. Hearing postponed. 72 hours gained. But Langley's asking questions about who prompted the review." Sarah placed the evidence in her safe. Tomorrow, she would need to find a way to make this evidence admissible, not just for Jason's custody hearing, but for a larger investigation. As she climbed into bed, Max settling at her feet, Sarah thought about Eleanor Winters sitting in jail for trying to protect children when no one else would. The woman had broken the law, no question. But had justice been served? Tomorrow would bring Jason's postponed hearing, Townsend's anger, Wilkins' warnings, and Langley's scrutiny. But it would also bring a chance to do what she had sworn to do, protect the innocent. Max rested his head on her ankle in silent solidarity. "Tomorrow's going to be rough," she whispered, "but we're doing the right thing." The question that haunted her was whether doing the right thing would be enough to save Jason, and whether the price might be her badge. Sarah stood outside family court, rain collecting on the steps. Max sat beside her, his tactical vest gleaming with droplets. Inside, Jason's future was being decided in a closed hearing. Despite Ramirez's 72-hour hold, Judge Martinez had called an emergency conference after pressure from Langley's office. Sarah wasn't permitted inside. Her phone buzzed. "Collins, Sergeant Wilkins. Where are you?" "On personal time, sir." "At family court, I'm guessing." His voice tightened. "There's a complaint from Langley. Says you're interfering with CPS operations." "That's not true. Truth doesn't matter when politics are involved. Get back to the precinct. Captain wants to see you." Sarah ended the call. Max whined softly, pressing against her leg. "I know, boy, but we can't just leave." Her phone buzzed. "Ramirez. Mother's lawyer arguing procedural issues. Langley here in person. Need more time." Sarah made her decision. "Come on, Max." Instead of the precinct, she drove to Channel 9 News. Jessica Chen, an investigative reporter, had once given Sarah her card after a press conference. You seemed like someone who cares about the truth, Chen had said. If you ever have a story that needs telling, call me. The time had come. Chen met them in the lobby. Officer Collins, this is unexpected. I need 5 minutes. Off the record. For now. In Chen's office, Sarah laid out the facts. Abuse cases closed to improve metrics, the evidence she'd found, the pressure to look away. This is explosive, Chen said. But I need more than your word. There's a child at risk right now because of this corruption. Chen's eyes narrowed. The Reynolds boy? From the Winters case? Yes. His life is in danger if he goes back to that home. I can't intervene in an active court case. I'm not asking you to, but the public should know about the systemic issues. How many children are being endangered because someone wants better statistics? Why come to me? Why not internal affairs? Because there's no time, and some things are more important than a badge. Her phone buzzed. Ramirez, judge leaning toward returning Jason to mother, needs something concrete now. Max pressed his head into her hand. I have to go, Sarah said. Think about what I've told you. Outside the courthouse, Ramirez waited, dark circles under her eyes. It's not going well, she said. Langley's convinced the judge the review is just a delay tactic. What about Jason's testimony? The mother's lawyer is arguing he was coached. We need something the judge can't ignore. Sarah thought of her safe, of Mitchell's confession. None of it properly collected, none of it admissible. Her phone rang. Jessica Chen. I've been making calls, Chen said. Found 3 former CPS workers who've confirmed Langley's manipulation. 2 will go on record. That might help eventually, but there's a hearing happening now. There's more. Remember that incident with Mitchell last year? Bar fight? I have the original police report. Hospital records show Jason was treated for accidental injuries that same night. Sarah's pulse quickened. That's public record. Admissible. I'm texting you the case number. Inside the courtroom, Sarah slipped the information to Ramirez, who requested the records be entered into evidence. Judge Martinez granted a recess to review the material. In the hallway, Jason's mother glared at Sarah. Max sat at attention, eyes tracking the mother. He had been there when they found Jason. When they interviewed him, he knew. The courtroom doors opened. Ramirez emerged with a tight smile. The judge is ordering a full investigation before any custody decision. Jason stays in emergency care for now. Sarah exhaled. And Langley? The judge has questions about why the earlier incident wasn't in Jason's CPS file. It wasn't a complete victory, but a child would be safe tonight. As they walked out, Captain Morris waited by her car. Collins, I've been looking for you. Sir, I can explain. Save it, your badge and weapon, now. Sarah felt a strange calm as she handed them over. Max stood steady beside her. You're suspended pending investigation. Department has concerns about your judgment, your unauthorized actions. Is protecting a child interference, sir? Morris's expression softened slightly. The job has rules, Collins. Some rules deserve to be broken. That's not your call. Morris sighed. Go home. There'll be a hearing next week. As Morris walked away, Sarah felt uncertainty. Her career might be over, but looking at Max, at his unwavering loyalty, she couldn't regret her choices. Her phone rang. Jessica Chen. I'm running the story tomorrow. System failed. How statistics trumped child safety. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This will create a firestorm. Ready for that? Sarah thought about Eleanor Winters, still in jail for trying to protect children. About Jason, temporarily safe but still in a broken system. About all the other children whose cases had been closed to make numbers look better. Yes, she said. I'm ready. That evening, Sarah sat on her porch watching rain. Max lay beside her, head on her lap. Her phone had buzzed all afternoon. Colleagues, friends, even Wilkins, with a message part. Anger, part grudging respect. The text that mattered most came from Ramirez. Jason asking about you and Max. Says you promised to visit. And she would. Badge or no badge. Some promises transcended official capacity. Sarah scratched behind Max's ears. We did the right thing, didn't we, boy? Max looked up. amber eyes reflecting complete certainty. Tomorrow would bring consequences, headlines, investigations, her career in jeopardy. But tonight there was only this truth. A child was safe because they had listened when others wouldn't. Sarah's phone lit up with a text from Eleanor Winter's lawyer. Prosecution offering deal in light of new evidence. Meet tomorrow? The story wasn't over. But looking at Max, who had sensed the truth from the beginning, Sarah knew which path she would choose. Some things were worth more than a badge. Some duties went beyond any oath of office. They had listened. They had believed. And because of that, a child would sleep safely for the first time in too long. In the end, wasn't that why she had become a police officer in the first place? Not for the badge, not for the rules, but for moments exactly like this.